Welcome to another episode of Growth Talk. In this episode, I will explore how being a good leader means being a good steward by leading with generosity, integrity, and service. You'll learn about what it means to be a good steward in your own life so that you can better lead others. Welcome to the Growth Talk podcast, where we discuss business growth strategies, personal development, and leadership from a Christian worldview. Thanks for being here. Before I get into the meat of this episode, though, I want to talk about why I chose to focus on the term stewardship. So you notice in the very intro there, we talked about being a good steward. Well, this came up in a recent conversation that I had with a friend. And because of this conversation, I have basically decided to make that my main focus for this year. You know, one of the things in that conversation that was very intriguing is we were talking about just how we live in a life where we have a lot of benefits and a lot of things that we get to enjoy and participate in, and relationships and all those type of things. But then being mindful of those experiences and what that truly means, and that means being a good steward of those things. You know, it is important for any leader to exhibit stewardship in their work. But biblical stewardship, so we're going to get into that a little bit as well. Biblical stewardship takes it to the next level. You know, the word steward means one who has charge of property or business affairs for another, hence a manager of someone else's possessions. A biblical steward is someone who manages God's resources on earth. You know, as leaders, it is our duty to be good stewards of what we have been given, whether that be money, time, material goods, or relationships. When we are good stewards of what we have been given by God Himself, then we can be entrusted with more things to steward that will bring God honor and help us to realize how important it is to keep Him in the center, preeminent, of all that we do as leaders. It was a wonderful conversation I had with my friend. You know, we were talking about just the blessings we had in our life and things that we were going through and learning, and relationships and business and those type of things as the year was coming to an end. And I began to realize, like, man, stewardship is such a key aspect of what we do, and being able to get our minds correct in what stewardship meant is probably key to being a great leader. So we're going to get into that in this episode too. But before I kind of get into the meat, though, let's define stewardship even a little bit more so we get a good idea and a framework around what being a good steward actually is. So we're going to start off with the Webster definition of a steward. So the Webster definition says this: the office, duties, and obligations of a steward is the conducting, supervising, or managing of something, especially the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. Now, that's the Webster World Definition, which does do a great job at encompassing what a good steward would be of the things that they are entrusted to. But then we're going to take it one step farther by going to the biblical definition of what being a good steward is. So, biblical definition: utilizing and managing all resources God provides for the glory of God and the benefit of His creation. The center essence of biblical stewardship is managing everything God brings into the believer's life in a manner that honors God. So that is the encompassing of what stewardship means, the definition by the world standards, the Webster definition, and the biblical definition. You can see how stewardship is a very crucial aspect of the believer's life, as well as just human in nature, that we are entrusted with things to be good stewards of. I'm going to read a couple of scriptures for you, and this first one is going to be a really good one that talks about, you know, in general, stewardship. Colossians 3:23 through 24 says this: whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. Another one is this: 1 Corinthians 4:2 says, moreover, it is required of stewards that they be found faithful. And finally, 1 Peter 4:10-11, as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. Whoever speaks, as one who speaks oracles of God. Whoever serves, as one who serves by the strength that God supplies, in order that in everything God may be glorified through Jesus Christ. To him belong glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Everything we have in this life, everything, is completely a gift from God, and we are called to be good stewards of those gifts. Think about that. Your relationships, your home, your cars, your business, the people that you're leading, all of those things require us to be good stewards of those things. And if we operate with a stewardship type mindset, we're intentional with the way we are engaging with our spouse, our friends, our family, the job, the people we interact with at our jobs. We realize that we are entrusted in these relationships to help build other people up, to lead them, to bring peace to their lives, to be able to take care of those things that we have in our lives, the houses, the cars, all those type of things. We are called to be good stewards of them, because if we are good stewards of those things, then God can then use those things to bring glory to him. And obviously by just the nature of the way this works is in return a good, fulfilling life for us as the believers. Now that we have kind of an understanding and a focus on what stewardship is, let's get into the importance of stewardship as a leader specifically. And here are 3 points about why I believe to be a good leader, you need to be mindful of godly stewardship. All right, so number 1 is this: leaders who are mindful of stewardship have a more balanced life and live with purpose. While it's not possible to be perfect. We're not shooting to be, for perfection here, but being mindful of stewardship can help, leaders live a more balanced life in general. Acting with intention and making decisions that reflect our values makes us better people and allows us to give back in ways that truly do matter. Leaders who strive for stewardship will find that their lives have greater purpose and they're able to make a real difference in the world. Really, if you think about this, how can we be effective leaders and good stewards if our personal life is in chaos, if our home is not in order, if our cars are not even in order, and these type of things are, causing us distractions and disrupting our lives? How can we then be able to be strong leaders? So to be a good steward, it's going to start more on the personal side of your life, getting those things in order and being intentional with looking at your own personal life and aligning those things to match what godly stewardship looks like. So we got to begin to look more on the personal side of this. So just keep that in mind as you're trying to be a good steward and grow as a leader. Look at your own personal life and begin to work to get those type of things in order. Number 2 is this: by practicing stewardship in our leadership roles, we will be able to build trust with those we lead and serve. When we are good stewards, we build trust with those around us. It's just a byproduct of that, right? So being a good steward means being responsible and accountable for our actions and decisions. It also means using our resources wisely and taking care of others that truly do depend on us. They depend on the way we operate. They depend on the way we handle situations and those type of things. So we do need to be mindful of those, that they're looking at us and observing what we do, and we want to make sure we are doing everything we can to build the trust with those people that we are leading. When we practice stewardship in our leadership roles, we create an environment of trust that allows everyone to succeed. So if the people that we are leading see that our lives are in order and that we are being good stewards and that we are truthful in our actions and that what we do does align with godly practice and godly principles, then they will build trust with us, and therefore building a very strong environment of trust. Number 3 is this: it reminds us all that we don't own anything, but are just temporary custodians, which means we operate from a legacy mindset. We all have things in our lives that we feel a sense of, ownership over. We often think of these things as ours, and we are fiercely, very protective of these things. We have this perception that everything we have is our possessions. But really leadership is not about owning things. It's just not about the stuff. It's not about the cars, the business itself. It's about stewarding what we've been entrusted with, whether it's our team, our resources, or our own lives. When we remember that everything that we have is temporary and that we're just stewards, it changes the way we look at everything. We become more grateful for what we have and more willing to share it with others. We also become better leaders because we're focused on the long-term goal of preserving and growing what's been entrusted to us rather than our own short-term gain. Everything becomes more important when viewed through the lens of stewardship, including our relationship, our work, and even our own lives. When we remember that everything is temporary and given as a gift from God, it helps us live each day with purpose and with a legacy mindset focused on the future generations that could benefit from our stewardship. And I don't know about you, but I want to have a legacy type mindset. I want to be able to understand that the things that I have been entrusted with, the gifts that God has given me, I am using not just for my own personal gain, but I'm thinking 5, 10, 15, 20, and even more years out into the future, that what I do now has generational impact for many years to come. And that truly is having a stewardship mindset. It's realizing that the things that we have in our lives now can be to the benefit of others currently and ongoing. And that's the beauty of legacy. Here are some supporting quotes for you that I love to bring in. I always say it, smarter people than myself, and I truly do believe that. This one is by Lynn A. Miller, and it's probably one of the best that sums up exactly what stewardship is. It says this: stewardship is the act of organizing your life so that God can spend you. Stewardship is the act of organizing your life so that God can spend you. In other words, the things that you have, if you're good stewards of those things, God can use them and you for his glory. All right, John MacArthur said this: all Christians are but God's stewards. Everything we have is on loan from the Lord, entrusted to us for a while to use in serving him. I think John MacArthur really did a good job of summing up exactly what stewardship means. It's something to be very mindful of. And finally, Ron Blue said this: stewardship is the use of God-given resources for the accomplishment of God-given goals. God has entrusted us with stewardship of his resources on this earth. And it is our duty to be good stewards of those things. There are many ways that we can apply biblical principles in our leadership style, whether by being humble or serving others. But the most important thing for any leader to do is steward what they have been given well, so that they may continue to enjoy the blessings of their work while also fulfilling their calling as an agent of hope on earth. What steps can you take today towards becoming a better steward? I know I'm going to be focusing on this year to be a better steward of the things that have been entrusted to me by God, so that I operate with a stewardship mission with a legacy type mindset. And I think going through all these type of things and being a good steward, going back to the beginning, some of the most important things that will come out of being a good steward is you'll be showing generosity, you'll show integrity, and overall you'll serve those around you. So generosity, integrity, and service is at the core of good stewardship. So I hope you will join me in this mission to be good stewards of those things that God has entrusted with us. And as always, I so appreciate you guys listening to another episode of Growth Talk. Just keep being relentless in your pursuit of truth. Take care. Thanks for listening to another episode of Growth Talk. If you have a question or comment you would like to share, please email them to me at askadamtoday@gmail.com. If you enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing to Growth Talk. Also, be sure to rate us everywhere you listen to podcasts. And remember to be bold, keep learning, and be relentless in your pursuit of truth.